Hello and welcome to Rage Quit. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be talking about why I think Warhammer 40k's sales model is pretty damn terrible for competitive play. Now there's two main caveats to this. One, I do not play Warhammer 40k, and two, I therefore do not play competitive Warhammer 40k. And I think this isn't, maybe it's the example we're going to look at, which is stemmed from the Prophecy of the Wolf box set. It does not apply to all of Games Workshop's sales models. Normally they will release stuff and then it'll have books, etc., and you'll be able to get the rules. But this one example is just sort of, it triggered me a little bit in terms of like, if I ever thought about getting into 40k, I would like to play competitively, and then to see stuff like this just makes me think, is that something I'd ever want to do? So we'll go through what it is first, and then we'll go through why it's probably not as bad as I'm initially making out, and we'll compare it to other games, which will be interesting, I guess. So for those of you who don't know, Games Workshop, I have announced, I think it's coming up for pre-order this weekend. If you do want to pre-order this, it's probably linked to an Element Games link if you ever wanted to. I guess an affiliate link. Obviously, I'm not suggesting you buy this box necessarily, I don't really know too much about it. I've been watching Chapter Master Valrix and Kyrioth, I don't know how you say his name, and they're not particularly thrilled about the box set, but specifically for me, so there's this box set. Apparently we think it's going to be £105, I say we, Valrak, and yeah, my initial reaction is that's overpriced, but just looking at the number of models, but I literally have no idea. But the key thing here for me is that there's two named characters. So I believe the rest of these units here, the models, yep, you can buy them all separately, fine. But Gaz Skull, I believe that might be how you pronounce it, and Ragnar, basically, they the new models of them are exclusive to this box. Now, there may be an older version of these models that you can buy. Well, there definitely are older model versions of that exist, but I'm presuming you can't get them anymore, or at least not easily. So I realise that sort of would be a problem, because if you could just get the old versions and then play them with the new rules, that would solve everything. But let's presume that you can't, and you can only get the new version, because as I said, I don't know 40k well enough. But yeah, so essentially there's two named characters here, which from my research, as in asking in the Warhammer 40k Discord, you can use these named characters at most events, at least Warhammer 40k, the ITC ran by the Frontline Gaming guys in the US. Now, they stated that in actuality these models are probably not that good, but to me that's irrelevant to the point. It's all about possibility, and if you wanted to run them in, maybe for some reason Ragnar superly fit the list that you wanted to run, but to do so you needed to buy this box. Like, I think that would be terrible, and that's really the whole basis of it. So it's the fact that these two models are exclusive to this box set. If I didn't make that clear, the Ragnar and Gazskull are exclusive to this box, and at least for now, ultimately it sounds like they will get a release. I believe that happened with some characters before, but just that on itself, I'm not like bothered how much the box costs. I'm not bothered if you think the box is worth the money or not. Like, for me, that's all sort of semi-irrelevant. But the fact that there's two models in here that are exclusive to this box that you might want to pay for competitive, that you might want to play for competitive reasons, even though you might not want to, I think it's just terrible. I think it's just terrible. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible sales model. Yeah, it's as simple as that. I don't think games should ever really force you to buy, one, things that you don't want to get things that you do want, and then two, to do that but for two factions. Do you know, like, I think that's crazy. Now, as I said, ultimately it might turn out that these models are not particularly competitive. Gazskull might not be, Ragnar might not be, but just having that as a thing, like if you wanted to take one of them to a tournament for the next 6 months or whatever before that they come out, which you're, let's say, legally allowed to do. I mean like competitively legally, not by law. Well, you have a problem. It's also worse if you're like, think about it even non-competitively. If you own the rest of those models and you just wanted one of those models, yeah, you can buy the box and sell the rest off, but it's a pain in the backside, isn't it? Like, I think Valak said it would just be wise to sell the box and sell the models at the same time. Or if you weren't going to do that, say that you're going to sell the models in like 2 weeks. that would be reasonably reasonable. But to just not even have any indication when those models are going to come available, well, you're going to get that classic FOMO, the fear of missing out. So it's like, even if they're not good right now, maybe the rules will get changed and they will become good, and maybe you don't have them, but you actually play Orcs and you want Gaskell, but he's bad now, but if he gets FAQ'd and he becomes good, or errated, he becomes good, maybe I should buy this £105 box. It just rubs me the wrong way. And I always make videos about sales models, and I'm sure people are probably sick of me talking about it, but for me it's very important. It's one reason that I never initially got into X-Wing 1.0. So in X-Wing 1.0 you would have upgrade cards in ships that you could use for your ships, but they were only available in a different faction ships. So you would have to buy the other faction models to get the stuff that you wanted, which was terrible. I think everybody agrees that was terrible. X-Wing 2.0 has predominantly changed that. There are still, I think, a couple of examples which I don't know, and I don't want to necessarily go into details because I don't know about it. But they recognised that was a problem and stopped it. And generally, by and large, most other games, you don't have to buy things that you don't want to get things that you do want. I think that is bad practice and a problem, full stop. And I think Games Workshop particularly are probably bad offenders of this, but people just let it slide. Because generally people just want the models and they'll buy the boxes anyway. But it just seems like in this case the Prophecy of the Wolf box perhaps not capturing people's imaginations, and therefore it's triggering a little bit people's minds to be like, oh, actually I want that model but I don't want the box, and that's where you have it. I think it's never good if any game does it. I always try and call it out. I think like in Marvel Crisis Protocol, there's a thing where you buy 2 models in a pack. I really wish they would sell them individually, because if you only wanted the one and you weren't bothered about the other, you've got to pay the money for 2. I think that's bad. I just think that kind of stuff is bad, and I will always call that stuff out. And now I appreciate Games Workshop doesn't do this for everything. Most of the time, you just buy your army book or whatever, and maybe the Psychic Awakening, and then maybe the General's Handbook, but you buy your models one at a time, like a faction, not a faction, like a unit at a time, or even 5 at a time, and then you can maybe make them into a bigger unit. You do that, you get the rules, and that's fine. That nobody can really complain about that. Yes, you might argue that, I need 15 of them to be good, I need to buy it 15 times or whatever, but that's just the way it is if you're going to try and follow the competitive mindset and you want multiples of things. But so most of the time this isn't Games Workshop's main problem. It's just the fact that they're so willing to just casually do stuff like that without really thinking it through. I think that's indicative of a problematic viewpoint when it comes to specifically competitive play. I guess it wasn't necessarily simple words I used, but it's as simply as I can probably put it. And if any game did that, I would call it out. And I just think this is a heinous example of something like that. Turns out maybe these models aren't that competitive, maybe you're not that bothered, but we shouldn't let companies, I think, set bad examples just because this time it's not a problem. I feel like we should, every time we see a bad example or something that we don't like, we should say, that's bad, stop doing that please. It's sort of anti-consumer, I don't know what if there's an extra ist or something, anti-consumerist, that sounds vaguely right. We should say that, stop doing that, it's not good. And so I don't play 40k. If I've completely missed the concept of this, please let me know. I'll probably just delete the video, but it seems weird. I remember when in December I called out the General's Handbook. I think that's bad, and then this is another example of something that I think that GW do that is just bad and sort of indefensible in a way. Yes, they want the sales of their boxes, sure, but at what cost? They're trying to get your money, aren't they? It's the cost of you. If you want this box or you want one of those models, you're the cost. And I think that's bad. That's all I can say. I have no stronger opinion than that. That's all I'm here to say. I realise it's weird to talk about a game I don't properly play, but I'm mainly talking about Games Workshop as a whole and how willing they are to do something like that. You might not like the fact that Games Workshop are doing this, but if you like me talking about it, press like. And if you're not subscribed to the channel or interested in wargaming as a whole, please do. It really does help. Have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.